So this video is going to get a little weird and a little spiritual, but I'm going to try to simplify it for everyone to gain a better perspective on why they get so entangled with narcissists. Because the truth is, some people are better at reading others, and sometimes it's through experience, sometimes it's because their parents raised them in a different way. Some people are just more emotionally cold, so they aren't susceptible to other manipulators. Whatever it might be, it's the concept of your mental and emotional energy. And narcissists are really good at manipulating, they're really good at manipulating everyone in general, but especially as you've learned, hopefully, as you've been watching videos like this, you're getting better at not being so susceptible to the manipulation of everyone. And it's one of the very few things that the narcissist gives you. The positive things that they give you is that they let you have this knowledge, and you are now less susceptible to all sorts of manipulation. But the narcissist has a very negative energy about them, right? It's something you hear a lot, that they're a very low vibrational person. Well, what does that mean? It means that most of the things they do are on an energetic level. They're very carnal beings. They're very of the flesh, if you're, in biblical terms, meaning that they're always trying to like fulfill some kind of bodily need. And it's strange because they affect us on such an emotional level, because we fell in love with the narcissist, and they are thinking on a very different energetic level from us. We invested emotionally into them. We invested our heart and soul into this person, but they were only interested on about other things that are, it's not that they're necessarily bad or good, right? Like, it's not that a person who's materialistic is better than one who, like, is like a monk, or a nun, right? It's just a different way of living. But just like a nun isn't going to understand the guy who works on Wall Street and, like, you know goes to clubs every weekend, and just how that guy from Wall Street isn't going to understand why the nun, like, decides to live this, like, what to him seems like a boring life. That's kind of like how big of a difference you and the narcissist are. You are living for other reasons, right? As especially if you're more on the empathetic side, your energy is more giving. You have even though empaths can have very low mood at times, we live on this more giving, nurturing energy, where the narcissist is more like my needs, take energy. And this is how we get so caught up with this person. They are absorbing energy from us, and we're giving it. And psychology tries to explain this as, well, you're a people pleaser, you're a this or that. And that's, I think, it has to be part of it, right? And again, it's just a way of explaining the world, right? Spirituality explains it through these very esoteric, mystical, metaphysical language, and then psychology comes and explains it to these very rational, cold, logistic type of ways. And they both get things right, and they both get things wrong. Just you have to view everything you view in terms of, like, the human mind. It's so complex, and no one really knows the truth. That's like the absolute truth. When you watch a video on narcissism, when you watch a video on psychology, spirituality, there's always something wrong about it. No, there's no absolute truth, at least in the realm of human psychology, and the mentality of human beings. When it comes to, like, math or science, yeah, there's like hard facts. But when it comes to a human being, it really is all about perception, and it's how you perceive and absorb other people's energies. And because the narcissist they had to fake their energy to match yours. They had to seem like they were a giver, and that's why they had to, like, love bomb and give you all that energy in the beginning. But that's not their natural state, and it's why they all of a sudden change, right? It's just as a lot of empaths are kind of shy and quiet. when we have to be like outgoing or something like for a job interview, it takes a lot out of us, and then we kind of recoil back into our natural state, right? It takes a lot out of us. The narcissist is like this in a similar manner, and it's why when you you've been dating them for a while, all of a sudden they just feel different, right? It's part of it's part of their disorder. It's part of why they go through that cycle of the cycle we all know about narcissists, where they idealize you and then it just turns to shit after. That's who they are. It's who they had to fake to be, right? And that's why, like, for an empath, sometimes they say we have a disorder of being like kind of strange and not giving enough in certain situations, right? Just like the narcissist takes too much, sometimes we give too much. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. That's what happened with the narcissist. We gave too much, but to the wrong person. And hopefully you've experienced in your life where you've given a lot to someone who was worth it, but maybe for some certain reason it didn't work out, right? You had to move to a different state. um, Something happened to them very tragic, and they had to give up on the relationship, right? Like their mother, their dad died, unfortunately. That's there's so many variables in relationships too. You could meet the perfect person, but then some awful accident, just freak accident could happen, and then you're screwed. Like the perfect relationship gets destroyed by circumstance. And now you add something like a mental disorder to it, and this is how you quickly realize that when someone has such negative energy around them, when they have such a pulling energy like the narcissist, they're always gonna like I saw it in the narcissist. They're always gonna attract negative people. They're always gonna attract, sometimes like you, they'll attract positive people. But there's this concept of energy in all like spiritual systems, and I see this a lot in my inner conflicts, and it's part of, like I've been explaining with the narcissist. As an empath, you feel the good and the bad to extremes, and you have to learn how to control your energy and how to focus it into things that are worth it. And just like I said, this has to do with psychology too. Sometimes we, through just ignorance or through just being young and naive, we don't know what to put our energy in. It's why when you're young, you think the most important thing to do is to go to the bar and get drunk with your friends and again, that's illogical. They say like, oh, maybe your prefrontal cortex hasn't developed enough, or just we aren't thinking logically and long term enough. And that's part of like what happened with the narcissist. You see this person, you see that they've had failed relations from the past. They don't have like a good job. They're in their like late 20s and they still haven't got it together. But you're putting hope into someone who is logically not that great. And that's normal. When we date, we kind of try to date idealistically. Our emotions take over, right? And especially when the narcissist love bombs us. But you have to, your energies, and there's it's a spiritual concept, right? It's your energy, this emotional part of you. You have to have that align with like your logic and reason, and it's not an easy thing to do. There's all sorts of ways to kind of make these energies align, but we see it in our daily lives all the time when we feel like doing one thing, like we thinking of doing one thing, but our energy levels aren't like meeting it, right? Like so that we end up just like vegging out in front of the couch, watching Netflix. The narcissist has this to like an extreme degree. It's why their life is always in a state of chaos, because their their mental faculties, their thought process is all over the place, and they but they're energetically, because they're pulling in like so much negative energy, so much, they have such a take energy about them. The very few thoughts that they coherently can have, they really attach to those, and that's why you'll see narcissists have like one stable thing in their life usually, right? Whether it's like their work, one relationship, some kind of hobby. Like they'll always have like one thing that they'll have, like, because they have a mental disorder, but they as as messed up as they can make you feel, they aren't the worst kind of mental disorders, right? There's people who are like schizophrenic, who are like a lot worse than the narcissist, and that's the even scarier part about why you have to really control your energies. You have to really understand that if you don't get this problem you had with the narcissist in check, you're going to keep repeating that pattern of behavior again and again. And we know, right, at a certain point, we start knowing on a logical level that, I keep dating the wrong people, I keep going back to the narcissist. So what is that? That's energy. That's that spiritual concept of energy, that you are you have the ability to, like, you poured in all this energy to someone, so you're capable of doing good. It's just you are putting your emotional spiritual energy into the wrong things, because your 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 logical side of your brain knows what to do, but your emotional balance side of your brain is still attached to the wrong things. And those are very deep emotional traumas and wounds. But once you truly understand why your energy goes in certain places, your thoughts, your logical side of your brain, and those emotional spiritual sides of your brain will start to align.